Hello, it's Dan the Real Estate Guy, and today's topic is the single family home and why you may want to specialize in that area, or if you're new, why you may want to start with that area. What I like about single family homes is there's no technology that's going to replace the single family home. That means if you buy a home that was built in 1950, or you buy a home that was built in 1970, or you buy a home built in the year 2005, all of them can be rented. Right? All of them can be sold. It doesn't matter that it was built in 1950. It's got bedrooms, it's got a kitchen, it's got bathrooms, it's in a desirable part of town, in good shape. You're going to be able to sell it, or you're going to be able to rent it. There's a lot of businesses we watched over the last 10 or 15 years, cell phones, fax machines, certain types of computers perhaps, their technology just got replaced. Something better came along. Really tough on the business person who put a lot of investment into a technology that got replaced. They had to shift gears, they had to stay ahead, otherwise they're gone, right? Your business with real estate is going to be here, either whether you own it to rent it and enjoy the cash flow, or whether you buy some homes each year and sell those for a profit. This business is going to be here for you. People are going to want to live in houses. You can always rent them, you can always sell them, and it's probably the most common transaction in your marketplace. So you can be part of that, and or you can specialize in other areas. The single family home is a great place to start. It seems like everyone wants a single family home. We may have mentioned before we would like you to deal in what we call the bread and butter properties. That means you're not doing the McMansions, right? The big ones, the high end, where only maybe 2 or 3 or 4% of your market wants one of those. And you may not be doing the really low end in really rough parts of town, again, where there's a small percentage of folks that want those and can qualify for loans, etc. You're going to be dealing in the middle, somewhere where most of the market wants. Probably 50% of the market is going to want the product that's in the middle. So you're going to learn, maybe it was in your homework before, you're going to learn the median price. You're going to learn the areas where those properties are. You're going to think about old versus new. Some of the older homes are in areas that people just really love. In Sacramento area we have some real cute areas that were built in the 50s. Heck, some of them even before that. And then you have some 60s and 70s as well. So you're going to learn all that. You're going to think about each product, each house when you look at it, you're going to think about its desirability. Right? There's many factors that I consider, and it's just become kind of a sixth sense for me. It's just something that I do. But some of the things I look at is lot size. One of the things you'll notice on the older homes is they have bigger lots in most cases. Certain parts of the building periods where the builder felt pressure to put lots of homes on small lots, those are the newer ones. That can be desirable as well. There's a lot of busy folks that don't want to live in a condo, they don't want neighbors, but they almost want the same feel. They live in a house, they don't have shared walls with anybody, but the next house isn't that far away, and their landscaping requires near no work or very minimal work. We have some of that in Sacramento as well. So you'll have a big range, right? Value usually is in the lot size. Appraiser will give you a better appraisal for a big lot, right? But all those products have value, and it's up to you to determine the value when you're buying, so you're getting it at a low enough price that you can sell it, or your numbers, what it will rent for, so that you can get some positive cash flow there. Also on the older homes, you're going to notice that the bedroom sizes are bigger in many cases. As they move forward in certain building time periods again, living space became the premium, and the bedrooms in some cases seem to be very much smaller than the old standard. All right, so watch out for that. When you're out there in the field looking at homes, one of the things I watch out for is funky floor plans. It's usually caused by additions that people put on, and it was basically their idea, not a designer's, and it just doesn't work. All right, there's a lot of that out there. Sometimes when you're looking for properties that have been on the market a long time, you're hoping to make a low cash offer. They've been on the market a long time, and that's why you're after them. You'll go out and look, and you'll see why they were on for such a long time. Maybe they just didn't work. The floor plan just didn't flow. It was really strange. I've seen it all, and I've seen situations where you walk into a room that's kind of made illegally, and the roof is so low I had to duck to walk through, and that's supposed to be living space. it is living space for little kids, I guess. You'll see where they converted attics, same thing, little rooms for kids or something. Recently I just saw one where they added a room under a staircase, so that room looked like a home office, but on one side you couldn't walk in there. The stair casing, the drywall underneath the staircase went right across the room at an angle. Again, just somebody's idea of how to get more space out of their home, but it really was funky. And sometimes funky just doesn't sell. So when you see a home on the market for 6 months or better, you get excited, you think you can go make a low offer on it, go make sure it's something that you can put into a reasonable floor plan. Another great example is, in our area, would be a garage conversion, where people have converted the garage into more living space. And the way I look at those is I always convert them back to a garage. If they're done in such a way where they're so permanent, where they went, brick across the front, really made it where it would be a big demo job, demolition to get it apart and make it a garage again, then I just skip it. And sometimes that's why other people skip it. Sometimes that's why people don't buy. All right? Another thing to look for, small homes surrounded by larger homes. This is basic, but a lot of you folks out there are new at this business, and I want to make sure you understand there's lots of little details. But you're always going to do a bit better if you have the small homes surrounded by the big homes. The big homes tend to pull your value up a little bit. If you have a big home that was added onto in a neighborhood where they average 1,200 square foot, for example, and somebody has a 2,500 square footer, probably it was added onto, so you're going to look to see if the floor plan is usable, but you're also going to notice it's basically overbuilt for the area. So even though it's 2,500 square foot in an area that's 1,200 average, you're going to get more money for that square footage, but you can't do a straight across calculation. In other words, if the 1,200 square footers are going for $100 a foot, don't expect to get $100 a foot for the 2,500 footer. So everybody's selling for $120 in that neighborhood, you're not going to get $250. It doesn't work that way. You can get more for the square footage, but you're not going to get dramatically more in that situation. So you're looking for overbuilt. Don't calculate your value and get excited and think you can get all this money for this house. Doesn't work that way. So you have to be very, very careful. All right, you're better off doing the small house in an area with big homes. That helps you more than the reverse. In California here, we have a lot of cul-de-sacs, meaning, the roads that look like a dead end with a circle at the back. A lot of people like living on a cul-de-sac. I guess they feel it's a little safer. Kids can play out there. You don't have traffic going through. So I always like the ones on a cul-de-sac a bit better than the ones that are on what I call the ingress, egress roads into these developments. All right, you're better off being tucked away where you don't have people going by all day, right? And there are plenty of buyers that like to be on those streets. They like to say, hey, here's my house. So if you get one on an ingress, egress, it should have a nice curb appeal because there are buyers that like to be seen. All right, I've noticed that. But it usually is a little bit less money on that through street than it is on one of these cul-de-sacs. So watch out for that. We talked about additions and garage conversions. How about roof types? A lot of folks will go out to buy a home and they don't quite get what the roof, how important the roof is. It's one of what I call the big ticket items on fix-up. There's a lot of little things that can add up, but the first thing I'm looking at when I pull up to a home is I'm looking right at the landscaping and I'm looking at the roof. Those two items are my biggest items when it comes to fix-up. Landscaping is very important to bring people in, and it's expensive. But if you learn how to do it right, you'll learn how to spend a little bit of money to make it look good without going overboard. And that's very important, and that's in the fix-up area on the video there. But roof types, let's look in our area. If it's got a wood roof, the wood shake roofs, if it's anywhere over 15 years old, it's coming up on time to replace. Normally in our area, we're going to get 20 years out of those things. Sometimes you get a little more, sometimes a little bit less. Now here's what to look for. You'll have to either carry a compass or you'll have to know which way south is. But the south side is the side that gets all the sun and gets beat up. This is true for any roof. It doesn't have to be wood. The composition roofs, especially the inexpensive materials, you can tell the difference because a comp roof that's inexpensive lays flat. All the little shingles are fairly flat. I've never liked those kind of roofs. They're very inexpensive, they're cheap looking, and they don't last as long. We like what we call the comp dimensional roof, which is a thicker material and has some dimension to it, right? It looks like you've actually got shakes or tiles on there, but they're made of the composition material. So a comp dimensional is much better. Probably wood's my least favorite. I like the way they look, I just don't like the way they come apart about the 20-year point. So whenever I see a home that has the wood roof, I look right at my county record to see how old it is. If I think it's the original roof and the house is 20 years old and it looks like the roof is getting about time to replace, I just have to calculate that in if I'm going to fix it up and sell it. And in my area, the roofs are going to run anywhere from $8,000 to $14,000 depending on, and you might be able to get them down a little bit less than that, but depending on the square footage and size. Also, something important about roofs, and this should be in the fix-up area as well, roofing material goes up in the summertime, the cost, because it's an oil-based product. And so when gas prices go up, oil prices go up, all that stuff, the roofing material goes up as well. All right, something to keep in mind. As you continue to learn your single-family market out there, you're going to learn where are the best family areas. We have areas around here that are real popular with the families, lots of activities, lots of good schools, and you'll see them in the soccer fields all the time. I mean, parks are full. Those are really good family areas, and you need to know where those are. We also have some retirement areas. We even have some areas where you have to be over 55 to own a property in there. So things to think about. Really get to know your single-family market. Remember, what you're trying to do is supply a product to that marketplace. So the more you understand it, the more you understand the volume of business, so you're going to get out there and you're going to learn your numbers, the better you'll be able to supply that product at the best price, good locations, good floor plans. I mean, look at a lot of them. Really get to know them. All right, so your homework this time is to get out there and figure these things out. Now, this was homework in other areas as well, part of learning the market, but continue that process now. A good place to start is to find out your numbers. Remember, I try to do everything by the numbers. Numbers are usually pretty dependable. Find out in your area that you're working, if you're working a county or a city or an area of that city or county, see if you can find out how many closed transactions per month right now. Is there 500? Is there 1,000? Is there 1,500? How many closed every single month? So if you are licensed and you have MLS, you'll know how to do that. If you did your homework earlier and you're not licensed, you've already made contacts perhaps with a few realtors, see if you can get these numbers from them if you don't already have them. Let's get them. Let's find out in the last 30 days how many closed transactions. Let's find out how many active right now. What's your inventory? My Sacramento area, last year it was 6,500 units on the market almost all the time. It's now 8,400. I've seen that as high as 14,000 probably 4 or 5 years ago when things were really heading down. And I've seen it in a hot market be 3,500 listings. A hot market meaning just about everything that listed got sold. All right? Really important to understand those numbers. If you're going to work this boom and now this bust, it's nice to know what did it look like during the boom times, how many closings, how many listings. Find those things out. What does it look like now? All right? It would also be great to know how far did it fall. In my area, 50%, 60% off the top is fairly common. We've gone over some transactions in the other videos where, for example, a property sold for $290 and now it's worth $120. I have one I'm listing on Monday that sold for $252 before the top, and I'm listing it. There's a closed sale at $132 and one at $125. I'll list mine at $129.9. Right? So it's nice to know where was it, where is it today. Nice to know where the median, or what I call bread and butter properties, 12 to 1,600 square foot, usually tracts, tract homes, usually have parks and schools, everything's good, and we can go from there. So get out there and find your numbers, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.